In the last 3 years, I've grown my content agency, HatTip, to just under $1 million of ARR. We've closed over 40 clients, most of them coming from my LinkedIn. Oh, and by the way, I have under 10,000 LinkedIn followers. My point is that you absolutely do not need a ton of followers to generate demand via LinkedIn. You need a system that compounds and a half-decent strategy. Hell, I didn't post for the first 10 months after starting my agency, which is a complete mistake. Honestly, I was scared of looking cringe, which is hilarious looking back. Then, shortly after I started posting, a founder who I'd never met and had never come into contact with booked a call with me and paid me $5,000 that same day to start writing his LinkedIn posts. 2 weeks later, something very similar happened. From there, I never looked back. My only regret is not starting sooner. So if you're watching this and thinking to yourself, man, I should be posting on LinkedIn, trust me, I was there, I was in your shoes, and I promise you, you should start posting. So with that being said, I hope this video helps. The system I'm going to show you today is what I use, and it's what we've used for over 40 founders. I've run it for founders like Eli Rubel, where we help generate 14 calls in 24 hours, adding over $20,000 of attributable monthly revenue in just 60 days. Let's get into it. Phase 1 is the foundation. For your profile picture, you want a clear headshot of you looking half decent. For your banner, you want your value prop written in text, right aligned, with some type of social proof under it. That could be logos of your customers. For me, it's the logos of the venture funds that back our customers. Any type of social proof, that's what you want to put there. For your featured section, feature 2 or 3 of your top performing posts, any case studies you have, and or a lead magnet. For your about section, share a blurb on who you are, why you started your business, the problem you're solving, and then some social proof to go along with it. You can kind of take this where you want to take it, just don't write a novel. For your tech stack, if you're getting help with this from a marketer or someone on your team, here's what you'll want. Riverside to record your content interviews, which we'll get to in a minute. CapCut or some type of other video editing software to come up with video clips from those interviews. Again, this should probably be your marketer or agency or someone else like that. A Logitech MX Brio or any type of high quality recording camera so you can record those videos and come up with high quality LinkedIn clips. And a Shure MV7 and or any other high quality microphone. So with your profile optimized, your tech stack in place, and a marketer and or agency assigned to help you out, here's what to do next. I call this phase 2, we'll call it the content engine. Basically, you want to go from 0 to having 5 high quality posts per week written for you and that actually sound like you without spending too much of your time. Now, I know 5 posts might sound like a lot if you're starting from 0. If it really does make you uncomfortable, start with 3 and work your way up to 5. But if you're comfortable and ready to jump right in, you will see better results out of posting 5 times per week. Now, much of this section should actually be assigned to your marketer or agency. You can run it by yourself if you like, as I still find it helps myself. But if you're getting help, this is definitely the portion to show them. Basically, using what you sell and who you're trying to sell to, you want to delineate content buckets. Some people call them content pillars. All they are repeatable ideas at the top, middle, and bottom of funnel that you can repeatedly tap into to come up with content ideas. Let's use a random founder, for example. Say we're writing for the founder of a B2B lead generation agency who sends cold emails, cold DMs, and cold calls on behalf of their clients. Here's what their top, middle, and bottom of funnel content buckets might look like. At the top of funnel, they might talk about starting their business and the stories behind it, their general business takes or opinions that a lot of people might not agree with them on, but they do stand by, some of their favorite founder frameworks to follow while building their business, their takes on hiring and team building, how they're building culture, momentum updates about their company, that type of thing. If you've scrolled LinkedIn, you've definitely seen a lot of this, and there's a reason for that. These generally get pushed more than other ones do. And that's fine, they serve their purpose. At the middle of the funnel is where you really want to differentiate yourself. Here, we'd probably talk about pro tips for their ICP to get more leads from outbound, mistakes they might make while doing so, frameworks they can follow to do so, breakdowns of good and bad outbound motions, teardowns and breakdowns of winning and losing outbound motions, that type of thing. At the bottom of the funnel, we'll talk about case studies, testimonials, objection handling, and answer any FAQs they get from customers and prospects. The point of these buckets, though, is that within them, you can ask multiple questions that will lead to multiple post ideas. So we'll use the hiring bucket, for example, from the top of funnel. Here, for example, we can ask, what's the worst hiring decision you've ever made and what did it lead to? If you can give yourself one hiring tip going back to when you started your business, what would it be? What is one thing you thought about team building that would be true when you started your business, but is actually not true? Do you see how we can repeatedly come up with different content ideas within each bucket? That's the point. And you can write prompts, which is the next step, to work your way through those buckets to come up with virtually infinite content ideas. Which brings me to the next point, the content interview. Remember when I said your marketer or your agency should be running this part? This is what I meant. Basically, you likely don't have 4 or 5 hours a week to be writing your content, so you should be assigning a marketer or an agency to help do it. But to make sure it actually sounds like you should make them interview you once every 2 weeks. We like to schedule them for 45 minutes. You can get away with 30 if you want. They should show up to that call with prompts written from the pre-agreed upon content buckets. Then they should ask you the questions just like a regular podcast. They should let you riff and let you go on any tangent you want. The point though is that this transcript will then be used to write your posts. By the way, if you want to make sure your posts actually stand out on LinkedIn, click the first link below. I have a full 83-page LinkedIn guide covering this process and exactly how to write specifically for LinkedIn based on 40 plus founders worth of data we have. I actually want to stop here and talk about measurement because I know a lot of founders get hung up on this. If you strictly write for likes and reach, you will not generate pipeline. I know it's awesome to see the impressions number ticking up in your analytics tab, because trust me, I've been there. But I promise you, I've seen with my own eyes posts with 500 likes that booked 0 calls and posts with 12 likes that booked 3. Actually, going back to that person who paid me $5,000 to write their LinkedIn post the day they met me, apparently they'd been following me for a long time but never liked or commented on any of my posts. And that's my point. Your ICP does see your posts. They might not like or comment on them, but I promise you they are seeing them if you're writing half decently. All that to say, don't only index on likes and reach. Yeah, they're great leading indicators, but if you only focus on them, you're in trouble. By the way, like I said, I broke that concept down way further in that 83-page guide I was telling you about. Click the first link to get it. Phase 3 is audience building. You have a lot of the hard stuff out of the way now, but this part is important. Basically, you're going to use either Apollo.io or just Sales Navigator to find 10 to 15 leads within your ICP every single day. We like to use Apollo and pull a master list, but you can do whatever you want. The point is that you send them a blank connection request. Once they accept your connection request, your content starts showing up in their feed, which is exactly the effect we want. From there, you really have to earn your ability to stay there, and you do that with great content. Beyond just connecting, if I were you, I would find 3 to 5 people who have my audience in their ICP and leave thoughtful comments on their posts each day. If you leave 5 of these each day, I promise you, you will see your profile viewers start ticking up. Fun fact, one of our existing clients has now paid us over $15,000 and came to me not through one of my LinkedIn posts, but through a comment I left on another person's post. I promise you it's worth doing. And whenever I talk to founders about this, I really encourage them to try to build some type of routine. So if I were you, every day I would make sure, number 1, I was getting my post up, which again, your marketer or agency can handle for you. Number 2, you're connecting with those 10 to 15 people. Again, your marketer or agency should be able to handle that for you. I would not recommend automating this. Number 3, though, is where you should probably step in, and that is leaving outbound comments. These need to be thoughtful. They cannot just say, love this or great post. They need to be true value add. The barometer I like to set is that these comments should be valuable enough that they can stand alone as a post themselves. And that's very tough to delegate. And the 4th part of that routine is what brings us to step 4, which is DMs. Yes, you'll get some inbound from posting, no doubt, but if you really want to accelerate this, I really recommend you start DMing your ICP. I go way deeper on this in that guide I was telling you about before, so make sure you get it below. But the summary is this. You want to effectively run a social selling motion on LinkedIn. I adapted this from Darren McKee, so all credit to him. But basically, on day 1, you're going to engage with a prospect. That means liking their most recent post, replying to one of their comments, etc. Basically, just get your name to show up in their notifications tab. On day 2, you're going to connect with them. They'll be way more likely to accept, being that they've already seen your name now. 48 to 72 hours post acceptance, you're going to send them a video DM. If I were you, I would structure it like this. I would do an observation about what they posted, something their company did, or something like that. Just make sure it's personal. I would tie that observation to my service or product. I would offer something of free value related to it, and then I'd shut up. Here's a real example of it.
Hey Noah, Christian here. I was mentioning the workflow post in your connections thing there. Hi, quick intro. I'm Christian, founder of Hatip. We're a B2B content agency. We've grown to just under $1 million of ARR solely off my LinkedIn. It's what we do for clients, how we grow ourselves. To that point, I'm on your profile right now, and there are some switches I personally think you should be making to drive pipeline for Tower. I'm not here to pitch on anything. I'm actually here to offer you something completely free. I'm assuming you want to be reaching, I would guess, M&A teams, in-house legal teams, even outsourced legal teams who are trying to do due diligence. I would just assume based on what I know about Tower. To that point, there's a lot more you could be doing to reach them. Looking at your profile now, you don't have a banner up. Posts themselves are good. The consistency isn't. And I would love to basically show you, if I were you and if I was in charge of your social per se, how I would get you both on a consistent cadence and getting you in front of the right people. Yeah, if that's interesting to you, I'd love to make the document. If you want me out of your hair, you let me know. Regardless, I'll be cheering on. Thanks, let me know.
Now, I know that's time consuming. I know you don't have 5 hours a week to do it. If you really are trying to ramp up sales, I promise you it is worth doing. Now, with all of that said, if you run this day in, day out, week in, week out, here's what you can expect. 30 days in, you should see a clear uptick in social metrics. If you didn't, you're doing something wrong. You might see a little bit of trickled inbound as well. 60 days in, you should get a bit of inbound. And if you're running these DMs, you should absolutely be booking meetings. 90 days in, you should have a clear baseline for pipeline coming in, as well as data on how to optimize it. Now, I've run this system for over 40 clients. I've watched it work and I've watched it fail. Usually it fails the same way. The founder posts 3 or 4 times, sees no immediate pipeline, and automatically says LinkedIn doesn't work. If that's going to be you, don't even start. If I were you, I would commit to 90 days minimum, whether that's with an agency or just internally, and watch the results from there. I know it's not what you want to hear, and I know you want quicker results, but that's just not how this works. And I can probably name 100 people in my contact list that are very happy they stuck with it. Anyway, everything in this video is enough to get you started today. But if you want to fast track that and accelerate your growth, talk to us. Click the link below and we'll run this exact process for you. See you in the next video.